Long gone are the days of waiting to be seen in a doctor's office only to have that awkward conversation with your healthcare provider. Wisp gives you access to sexual and reproductive healthcare from the comfort of your home. Get treatment for BV, yeast infections, UTIs, and much more delivered directly to your home or ready for pickup at your local pharmacy in less than 3 hours. The best part? Wisp is discreet, convenient, and you don't need medical insurance to receive care or prescription medication. Visit us today at hellowisp.com.
You're listening to Make Some Noise Minisode, number 675. Welcome to Make Some Noise Podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so glad that you are here. Today is our very last minisode. I know. I am sad to not have these anymore. However, the bright side is that I am taking what I have been doing in these minisodes, which have always been solo episodes on a topic, just me here, not an interview, and I'm expanding them. I loved bringing you the Coming Home to Yourself series, those 10 life lessons that I did in the beginning of this year, closer to my birthday. I'm going to keep doing them. They're not all going to be life lessons. They're going to be topics like these minisodes, and they're going to be expanded. I'm going to be doing 2 of those a month and then 2 interviews a month, roughly. It might switch a little bit. You're not going to notice. Don't worry. But I will definitely be doing these solo episodes more often, and I've gotten feedback that you like them, and so that is happening. So this will be our official last minisode. And I also, before I forget, wanted to tell you that How to Stop Feeling Like Shit 8-week experience is open for registration. We start on May 15th. I'm hoping you're listening to this in real time where you have time to still join us. And it goes for 8 weeks, actually 9, because we have an integration week. And if you are someone who self-sabotages, you start out strong and then end up not doing the thing that you thought you wanted to do. If you struggle with control or perfectionism, or if you don't even know what your values are, or you know what your values are, but you haven't really been honoring them. If you struggle in the areas of people pleasing, setting boundaries, if you come from a place of fear a lot of the time and aren't sure what the next move is, or you're afraid to do the next move, or if you resonated with How to Stop Feeling Like Shit, the book that I wrote, been translated into 20 languages, by the way. I know the intro to this podcast is old, but it's 20 languages now. Or if you're just someone who likes my work, if you like how I work, if you like the lessons that I bring you here, now would be your best chance to come and work with me and an amazing group of women. It is group coaching. So we meet every week. We actually meet twice a week, but the second call is optional. We meet every Thursday for group coaching on a particular module. You will get an audio or video, depending on how you like to consume your curriculum, with some worksheets. And we're going to meet every week so I can coach you around it. There's a community involved. And every Monday, there's an optional co-working call that is for you to do whatever it is that you want. I'm thinking that y'all are going to come to do the work that we're doing in the program. So I wanted to build in that accountability for you. So I want to share a few of the takeaways that are possible from this program that I'm going to be focusing on you getting. You will know what matters to you most. First and foremost, because we're starting with values, and you can start making decisions based on that instead of old patterns, old programming, guilt, fear, things like that. You will learn how to say no with minimal to no guilt hangover. You can speak up without spiraling for hours afterwards. You can catch yourself in the act of numbing. Not saying that you're going to eradicate it altogether. That's not the point. I haven't eradicated my numbing altogether either. But instead of spiraling, I'm going to teach you to pause, breathe, get curious, give you some coaching tools so you can coach yourself, so you can stay with yourself in those emotions. We're going to learn how to stop chasing perfection. You start showing up as the woman, as the person you actually are, with compassion and kindness. If you're someone that struggles with control, we're going to work on loosening that grip and start learning to trust yourself. to handle whatever comes, because that's why we engage in control, because we don't trust that we can handle the uncertainty or any wrenches that get thrown at us. And really, it's about showing up, even when it's messy, especially when it's messy. So how to stop feeling like shit, 8-week experience. The link is in my show notes, AndreaOwen.com/habits-course. Habits-course is the URL. I would love to see you in there. There is a price break up until several days before we start. So I'm hoping that you're listening to this when you still have time to join us. Even if it's a weekend, there's still time to join us. So make sure that you can either shoot us an email, DM me, and we'll get you all situated. All right, let's get into today's programming, shall we? New level, old devil. This is funny because I've had this in my notes, in my podcast notes for years. And I'm like, why have I never done a podcast episode on this? It got lost until it was time. It wanted to be the finale. It wanted to be the very last minisode, apparently. And so there's a saying in personal growth that is new level, new devil. And I've heard it many times and I resonate with it. Like, yeah, every time we level up our life, we get faced with our own stuff. It is an optimal time for growth. However, the thing I keep thinking of is new level, old devil, because family of origin stuff, the stuff that was embedded into our psyche that has created our neuroses, I love that word, comes up. Remember in one of the, I think it was lesson 10 of the Coming Home to Yourself series, I talked about how growth isn't linear. It's a spiral staircase. We do keep growing, but we tend to cycle back. We tend to cycle back to things over and over. Patterns emerge. Have you ever had a moment where you're doing the thing? You're growing, you're healing, you're engaging in new habits that make you feel good. Maybe you're setting some boundaries. Maybe you're speaking up for yourself at work or with your family. And then suddenly, boom, old crap from childhood comes up. You find yourself back to where you started, or you get triggered really bad by something. I know I did talk about this in that particular podcast episode. And if you haven't listened to it, we'll pop it in the show notes. It's lesson 10. But I'm going to specifically talk here about family of origin stuff, how it keeps coming back, especially when you're up leveling. Because the truth is, it's not new level, new devil. It's new level, old devil. And that stuff that maybe hasn't been totally dealt with, or it's stuff that needs to be dealt with more than once because it's big and messy, it tends to be driving the car. All right. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to start the content by asking you a question. Where in your life are you either playing small or are you staying stuck? So these can be things like relationships. Maybe you're not speaking up a lot, or you are in a pattern of relationships where it becomes same topic, different person over and over again, same problem that you're running into, different person. Or it could be money stuff. It could be success. It could be visibility. Visibility is a big one with women I work with. It could be rest. Maybe you're stuck with just not being able to rest, and you feel like productivity is really everything you have, and you put a lot of value on that. So now ask yourself, what was modeled for me growing up? What was either said, or more commonly, what was implied? I talk about this in my book, Make Some Noise, where when we grew up, there were rules that we learned from our social conditioning that were either explicit or implicit. So, for example, your parents might have said, we don't talk about that topic. That's explicit. Implicit would be more of when it comes up, jokes are made about it, or it is brushed aside and the subject is changed. So that sends you the message. It's not explicit, but it sends you the message that this is how we do things around here. We don't talk about such hard things. So that's implicit. So I'm going to kind of rapid fire some questions for you that will help you possibly see some areas where you're playing small or staying stuck. What did you see when someone asked for more? Doesn't matter what it is. When someone asked for more, whether it was someone in your family or someone that you saw elsewhere, What did you see happen? Was money ever a source of stress, or was it a source of power? Or was it silence and just not talked about at all? Who got attention in your family and why? Who got the most attention and why? And who got shut down? Who were the people who didn't get taken seriously? Who were the people who were judged? Who were the people who felt like they maybe had to stand out more? The last question I want to throw out at you is, what did you learn about what it means to be good? What did you learn about what it means to be successful? What did you learn about what it means to be loved? If you want to rewind those and jot them down and journal on those, that will probably give you some insight and get you curious. That's all. I'm gonna rapid fire through them again. What did you see when someone asked for more? Was money a source of stress, power, or silence? Who got attention and why? What kind of attention? Who got shut down? And then what did you learn about what it means to be good, successful, and loved? Okay, we need to take one quick ad break. And when we get back, I'm going to talk to you about the masks and the armor that we build. Be right back. When you think of mom, what comes to mind? Maybe it's strength, patience, love. Maybe it's the way she showed up for you in 1,000 tiny unspoken ways. It can mean creating a soft place to land inside yourself, even if your story around mom looks different. Here on the podcast, we talk a lot about reparenting yourself. And with that, motherhood can absolutely mean nurturing you, because motherhood can be complicated for some. Some of us were shaped by amazing moms. Some of us are moms. Some of us mother ourselves every single day. However it looks for you, you deserve comfort, sanctuary, and softness. That's where Cozy Earth comes in. Their bedding and bamboo pajamas, literal healing energy. I wear their bamboo PJs and it's like being wrapped in the coziest hug. They're temperature regulating, breathable, and so soft you'll never want to take them off. To celebrate moms everywhere, use code NOISE for 40% off your entire order, because she deserves the best. Get yourself or someone you love something that feels like home at Cozy Earth with 40% off your order using code NOISE. Let's be honest, life is a lot right now. Stress is high, anxiety is creeping in, and it's easy to feel like you're barely holding it together. If that's where you're at, or even if you simply love feeling a little more grounded, Headspace might be exactly what you need. It's the app that's helped me feel more grounded, less overwhelmed, and so much calmer. Whether it's guided meditations, breathing exercises, or a quick calming tool, it's full of practices that actually work. And no matter where you are on your mindfulness journey, total newbie or someone who's been meditating for years or somewhere in between like I am, there's always something that meets you right where you are. Honestly, every time I open the app, it feels like it was made just for me. When I'm short on time, those go-to sessions are perfect. I absolutely love their breathing exercises. And with over 1,000 hours of content, I can always find something that fits my day and my mood. So if you're ready to actually mean it when you say, I'm good, Headspace can help. Feel good and mean it when you say it. For a limited time, get Headspace free for 60 days. Go to headspace.com/makesomenoise. That's HEADSPACE.com/makesomenoise to unlock all of Headspace free for 60 days. Headspace.com/makesomenoise. Real quick, did you know your metabolism impacts literally everything? From your energy levels to how well you sleep to how your body responds to food and workouts. Yep, it's all connected. So when I found Lumen, it was a total game changer. It's this sleek little handheld device that measures your metabolism just by breathing into it. You wake up, take a breath into Lumen, and boom, it tells you if you're burning mostly carbs or fat and gives you a personalized plan for the day. What I love is that it doesn't just give you the data, it actually tells you what to do with it. Whether you want to fuel your workouts better or stabilize your energy, it's got you. Plus, Lumen adjusts to your cycle and hormones. So hello, support through perimenopause. It's like having a tiny metabolic coach in your pocket, and it's made me feel more in control of my health than ever before. If you're ready to stop guessing and start understanding your body, check out Lumen. The warmer months are coming. Spring back into your health and fitness. Go to lumen.me/noise to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/noise for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. All right, before the break, I asked you some pretty big questions. And hopefully, if you're working out or you're driving or doing dishes or shopping or whatever, that you had a time to at least reflect on them for a few moments, maybe even just one of them. And here's what I want to say, sort of my point is for asking you to get curious about that, is that though the answers to those questions are where your beliefs were formed, not even just about yourself, but about the world, about other people, about how relationships work, how money works, really how everything works. And sometimes, I think more often than not, we don't just carry the beliefs, but we engineer our lives around them. So this is where we learn to stay small and quiet. This is where we learn to be accommodating and agreeable. This is why we end up self-sabotaging in terms of money and might stay broke when we're realizing, like, I do have the potential to make more money. This is why we end up exhausted, like too exhausted to even stay connected with other people. It's why we isolate, why we numb out. We learn to not, quote unquote, outshine anyone. And this is how we learn to stay safe, really. This points back to all of the behaviors from How to Stop Feeling Like Shit. This is where we learn that control is our friend because we don't like the uncertainty. This is where we learn numbing out works better because it's too much of an emotional fiasco. That's the word I'm going to use here to feel everything. This is why we people please and don't set boundaries because we're agreeable and accommodating. This is where we learn to isolate. Like, these are all chapters from How to Stop Feeling Like Shit. And we do it not because we're not smart, not because we don't have the ability to be different. We do it because unconsciously doing the thing that we know is better, doing the thing like setting boundaries, like not numbing out and actually feeling our emotions, like reaching out for help, having good boundaries. Those are different than how our brain has been wired. Those are different probably from how other people behave around us. And if we do those things, that means we are more than likely going to be rejected. We're going to be unloved. We're going to be cast out. And this all happens mostly in our subconscious. So since we're wired for belonging, like it's really an important part of our survival to connect with other human beings, we stay stuck in these behaviors that feel like shit. That's where the title of How to Stop Feeling Like Shit came from, because those behaviors work for a little while and we engage in them for years, sometimes decades. And then we get to a point where it just feels like shit. And we're like, why do I feel like shit? Maybe it's because you're engaging in all these behaviors that aren't honoring your values and what's truly important to you. So that's what I'm talking about when I say the armor, masks, or habits. It's those types of things. And they stem from our unconscious, which was wired in our childhood. And so that is why when we start to uplevel our life, when we start to change, whether you went to therapy and got some tools and started to implement some small changes, or you listen to something on this podcast or a different podcast or a self-help book and went and integrated the work and did something and started to change. Maybe even you start a business. I was working with a client and she's dating and looking for a partner and starting a business at the same time. And I'm like, listen, you are doing two of the biggest workshops, if you will, for your own personal growth. Getting into a relationship, that person will hold a mirror up to all of your stuff. And starting a business is up-leveling your life and is risky and vulnerable. That is also going to bring up all of your stuff. So when we do anything like that, that I just mentioned, that the leveling up, your old stuff comes up because these beliefs that you have, and again, these are largely unconscious, these beliefs are old stories that have loyal roots. They have loyal roots because they're embedded. They were wired from childhood. I made this podcast episode partly in hopes that you would have some grace and compassion for yourself, because I just finished the 5-day challenge and it was amazing. And there was a lot of talk in there about people beating themselves up when you get this new self-awareness. And so I keep saying over and over again, give yourself grace, have some self-compassion. You're not going to get there faster or easier if you're beating yourself up over where you're at. And so my hope is that you can see that you didn't do this on purpose. This is not because you're a failure or because you can't do it. It's because these are old beliefs, old stories that have loyal roots. So how do we change these, right? How do we change them? First step, very important, is your self-awareness, is realizing not just that you do it, but when you do it. It can be incredibly helpful to work on it in real time when it's happening. It can be helpful to work on it proactively, meaning you're not necessarily in a moment of falling on the sword of your old belief, your unconscious negative core belief about yourself. It can be helpful to work on it when you're not in those moments, but it can also be, I think, sometimes even more helpful when you are in one of those places to work on it. So self-awareness is the very first step, knowing what those core beliefs are, and they might be different from things that you logically believe in your mind. I'll give you a personal example. If I am talking to you right now, you and I are having a conversation, and you asked me, Andrea, do you think that the people in your life that you're the closest to, do you think that they do care about you? And I'd say, yes, I do. I believe them. I do believe that they care about me. They've shown me that they care about me. They're not perfect people, but they've shown me that they care about me, and I believe them. Deep down though, I have a core belief with loyal roots that says, nobody really gives a shit about me. They humor me. They're friends with me for, whatever, because I entertain them until something better comes along. They're going to end up disappointing me. So that's kind of what that looks like. And so for some people, it's not a clear thought like that. It's just a feeling. It's a knowing that they're like, yep, that is true. That is true about me in my life. There's a slight difference with that. So that's an example. First step is self-awareness. What can also be helpful is rewriting the stories. That is what we call top-down work. So you're starting from your mind, you're starting from your brain with your thoughts. That can be incredibly helpful. There's something called thought work. The work of Byron Katie is like that, where, she asks, when you have one of those thoughts, you ask yourself, like, is this really true? And then there's a series of questions after that. That can be incredibly helpful. I did that work for years. It supported me a lot. And then another step is to do more somatic work. That is where you get into your body. So this is where EMDR comes in. This is also where hypnotherapy can be incredibly helpful. There's all kinds of somatic work and modalities that I'm unaware of that are typically and safely done by a trusted therapist that I'm not trained to do, but also psychedelic therapy. That is something that I have dove into, and it's been incredibly helpful in moving the needle specifically around this topic. I also have a specific psychedelic therapy podcast series. It's like a secret podcast. I will post a link in the show notes. I'm taking people through my own journey and telling you what it's like as I go through psychedelic therapy. I need to update that. I'm sorry, I'm late. I got a lot on my plate over here, writing books and stuff, doing podcast episodes. Nonetheless, psychedelic therapy can be incredibly helpful into getting into your subconscious. Even things like nervous system work, like vagus nerve therapy, things like that. So the things that I mentioned, like the EMDR, the hypnotherapy, the psychedelic therapy, that is what we call bottom up. So you're starting with your body first, the work, and then it will filter into your brain and change the way that you think, change the way that you feel, and change the way that you behave. This is deep work. It really is. It's not about blaming your parents or shaming yourself. It's about seeing clearly, having the self-awareness so you can choose differently. And again, if this resonated, if you're realizing you've been dragging around stories that aren't even yours, that you know logically are not true, this is exactly what we're working on in How to Stop Feeling Like Shit, the 8-week experience. It's a top-down approach. We look at the habits we've developed to avoid shame, really. It's the perfectionism, the self-sabotage, the people-pleasing, the control, the numbing out, the isolating, all of those. And we look at the ways that we do those and essentially abandon ourselves to stay small. That's how we engineer it. And it works until it doesn't. So if you're at that place where you're like, this doesn't work anymore, I'm done. And you want to start choosing differently on purpose, doors are now open. We start May 15th. The link is in the show notes, or AndreaOwen.com/habits-course. I would absolutely be ecstatic to have you. Thank you for being here with me. Your time is so valuable, and I'm incredibly grateful that you choose to spend it with me. And remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the episode. I am popping by on the back end for a quick reminder about How to Stop Feeling Like Shit 8-week experience. The link is in the show notes, AndreaOwen.com/habits-course. It is an 8-week program, 9 weeks actually, because we're doing an integration week. And it's all about people-pleasing and boundaries, perfectionism, numbing out, control, self-sabotage, fear, strategies to not do those habits so often anymore. These are the real things that keep people stuck. This is from my book, How to Stop Feeling Like Shit. And we start May 15th, and we're also doing an initial week on values. So if you want in, I'm not offering this again this year. So head on over to the link in the show notes, AndreaOwen.com/habits-course.